is this volcano of oil that is gushing out, hot oil gushing out 5,000 feet below the surface of the ocean in the Gulf of Mexico. Mike Papantonio is with us. He's an attorney. He's co-host of Ring of Fire radio program with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. RingofFireRadio.com is the website. Mike Papantonio. Hey, Pap, welcome to the program.
Tom, how are you?
I am just absolutely great, and so pleased to have you with us, Mike. You are taking some legal actions on this thing.
Well, yeah, not just me. Bobby Kennedy and I were hired by a consortium of attorneys all throughout the South to kind of help lead this charge. We kind of specialize in this, as you probably know, these types of cases and complex cases, environmental cases. Yeah, I mean, this is not something that one lawyer that typically doesn't handle these cases wants to get involved with, but it's a massive case. You got commercial fishermen, shrimpers, oyster harvesters, resort owners, dive businesses, seafood distributors, you name it. They're affected by what's happened. Tom, it's the equivalent of saying to Macy's, gee whiz, we're going to ask you to stop selling products between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Oh, yeah. These people make 80% of their money on the coast down here at this very time that this has occurred. So you can extrapolate the damages that are projected right now conservatively at $17 billion.
Well, this could wipe them out for a generation. And the Gulf Stream is, if this thing doesn't stop, the Gulf Stream could carry this oil all the way up the east coast of the United States, out into the middle of the Atlantic where it sinks to the bottom. It could end up in the Pacific within 400 years. I mean,
don't you want to yell out at the top of your lungs, Sarah Palin, how's this drill baby drill thing working for you now?
Yeah, the drill baby drill thingy. Yeah. Actually, what I'm calling for is the death penalty. Let me explain. We had, and in fact, I would love to get your take on this. In the 18th and 19th centuries in the United States, and really as early as the mid-20th century, we had the corporate death penalty. It was not unusual for secretaries of state. In fact, it happened in the Reconstruction era. It was happening at the rate of around 2,000 a year in the United States. The secretaries of states would come in and they would say, this corporation is not operating in the interest of the citizens of the state, therefore we're shutting it down. They would force it to stop operations, sell off all of its assets. The stockholders would be screwed. And if somebody wanted to restart that corporation, they had to buy the assets. And in other words, it had to basically go through probate. Everything got taxed, and they got to start over. The NCAA has the death penalty. Everybody knows about that. I'm calling for the corporate death penalty for Halliburton and British Petroleum.
Well, look, here we either believe in the free market system or we don't. If we believe in the free market system, like all the right-wingers say we have to have unregulated, just complete, let it roll free market, then the death penalty is completely appropriate. Because what we do, it's the market taking care of the thugs. It's taking care of the scammers and the cheats, and it moves them out of the market, and that's the market correcting itself. So they either believe it or they don't. They don't stand behind BP like we see this, Admiral Landry. I don't know if you've caught this. It's disgusting. You have this admiral with the Coast Guard who obviously is looking for a job down the road. This is the problem in a catastrophe like this. You have the low-level bureaucrats that are looking 2 years down the road, and so they're trying to pat BP on the back and say, gee whiz, I'm going to work with you here. So instead of doing that, we should treat BP like the people that they are. If it was a person, we would throw that person in jail. They have the protection of the corporation, therefore we can't. As I've said so many times, if we want to really rewrite the tort system, do away with money damages and throw people in prison. But your idea of the death penalty is it's not a new idea. As you talked about, in history, we've seen this where people really believed in the free market system. We get rid of the thugs, we get rid of the scammers, and we let the people who can operate honestly do it. If Doug Suttles didn't have the vision to understand that, yes, he could have saved another $500,000 here or $200,000 there by cutting cost corners, if he didn't have the vision to understand that the risk was so huge that in one day this company lost $30 billion, if he didn't have the wherewithal, the training, the skill, and the vision, then move him out of the process.
Pap, who is
Doug Scott? He's making the decisions. He's the chief financial officer for the company.
For BP.
Yeah. here you go. Now, look, here's what's happening right now, Tom. You need to know this. It's a very important story. It's not being covered. In the next, this is my prediction. Hold me to this prediction. In the next week or two, we're going to see Oceanic come out and say, look, we want to take advantage of our limited liability. Now, the limited liability is this, Tom. It is we don't want to be responsible for anything that exceeds the value of the rig. That's their right to do that. Right now, that value is about $350 to $500 million. It's statutory. They say we want to protect ourselves. Yes, we did wrong. We're sorry, but we want to protect ourselves with this statute that allows us to say, we don't want to pay beyond the limitation of the value of the rig. Now, what happens then is you have their buddy, Halliburton, and their buddy, BP, that says, look, Transoceanic fell on their sword. They admitted it's their fault. Don't be so hard on us. Right. We've seen it again and again.
And everybody wins on the corporate world, and everybody gets screwed on planet Earth.
Exactly. Same tactic we always see. Now, you heard it here first. Nobody's talking about this, but I'm telling you, I know the tactics. This is the first thing we're going to see. The other thing we've seen, Tom, is we've seen these little scammers, these BP silk-stocking corporate lawyers parachuting in from Los Angeles and New York and all over the damn country, actually telling these fishermen, telling these shrimpers, if you will sign this document, I'm going to give you $5,000. At the bottom of the document, though, it's a full and final release. Now, today, BP comes out and says, oh, gee, we didn't really mean that. It was just a boilerplate. It always happens. No, this document was written specifically for this case by BP. They intended to go all along the coast, have mom-and-pop fisheries sign off on this for $5,000 and lose their rights to do anything in the future. So look, this is the caliber of company we're talking about. Tom, don't forget, this is the company that had to plead guilty to felony charges for killing 15 people at a refinery in Texas. It's the same company that had to plead guilty to the Prudhoe Bay, Alaska spill. Yeah. You got to know who you're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's great that you're doing something about it. Mike Papantonio, ringofireradio.com, the website, and Mike Papantonio and Robert Kennedy Jr. going after these guys with the full force of the law. Good on you, Mike.
Thanks a lot, Tom. Good luck.
Yeah, and keep up the great work. Great talking with you.